Welcome to Tech Habit Weekly, Episode 3. Today is June 18th, 2013. Last week, Apple had their WWDC keynote, of which they released iOS 7, or really the developer previews for iOS 7 and Mavericks. Now, last week and throughout this week, we installed them, we've tested them, and we have, for you guys, what we think about them, things that are missing, things that we enjoyed, everything else about them. We're going to let you guys know. But I have Terrell. That's who the we is, not just me. He was with me last week during WWDC. He's over at one place for Apple, one place for tech, and just loves talking about this kind of stuff with me. So, like I said, we're going to be taking you through some advantages, some disadvantages, and of those pieces of software. And at the end, we're going to come together and talk about, a little bit more about the Mac Pro and the new MacBook Airs and stuff that Apple announced in terms, of their hardware line. So with that said, Terrell, go ahead and kick it off with our first topic.
All right, yeah, let's start talking about the advantages of iOS 7 so far. So we both have been using it for about a week now, and I mean it's not. We definitely know it's not finished yet. They are going to start. They're going to do a lot more to it. But
Yeah, and it's like what some people were saying. I think there was even. You linked me to it, Terrell. It was iMore, right? That put up this whole big article about how to stay classy about running
yes.
the beta. I mean, a lot of people are like complaining and stuff, and we know it's not done. We know that if this was a noodle, it'd still be kind of rough even after being boiled.
Yeah.
It's not done.
It's not done
But
at all.
actually, it's been stable.
Yeah, it's been pretty stable for me actually.
What do you like about it?
One of the main things I like about it is the clean look. It looks amazing.
Yeah,
The lock screen is
definitely.
definitely my absolute favorite. My favorite.
Yeah,
part.
it's very clean. It just looks really cool. And one thing I really like is like the wallpapers, how they're with the accelerometer. That adds a really nice
Yeah, I
touch.
like that. I need to actually change my lock screen to that. It looks nice.
Yeah, it's cool because that's throughout the entire OS. Like even if you have like whatever image you have as your home screen, not even your lock
Yeah.
screen, as your home screen with your icons, it moves around. So it's really neat.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing I like is folders. The new folders.
Yes, absolutely.
Unlimited
Yeah,
apps
I was
and
talking
folders.
to.
It's
Yes.
insane.
Yes, it's really, really nice. And I've been talking to a bunch of people about it. Everyone likes it. There was one person that I was talking to that he's my friend online that he said he doesn't like the new layout of the folders. And he honestly couldn't even really tell me why. He just said that it just hasn't grown on him,
Yeah.
which he's the only one.
Yeah, definitely. I did see. Actually, I think it was Leo Laporte that was saying that there was a lot of wasted space below the folders. Maybe they would do some. Maybe Apple's going to do something below there
It's,
when it's open.
yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, there is some space
Yeah,
there.
especially
Down below.
on the iPhone 5.
Oh yeah, definitely. I have the 4S, and they're still about as big as the dock. So yeah, there's definitely some space there, but overall, I mean, the entire look of the entire operating system is really clean and modern
Yeah.
now. It's no more of that skeuomorphism with that leather, stitching or green felt.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah,
it definitely looks a lot better.
multitasking is another thing I love about it.
Yes.
They completely
yes. And not
revamped
only
it.
yes, and that because they completely redid it, it not only looks a lot better, but it performs a lot better. Things that are and are not noticeable.
Yeah.
To you. One of those things being, and we'll kind of get into this a little bit later, is that all the battery saving stuff. So, say for example, you have two applications that are using a GPS radio. If you go into one of those via the multitasking, the phone's going to know that this application over here wants to use a GPS too. So when we go to update this application, as long as we have to have that GPS radio fired up, we're going to let both applications use it, so it only has to be turned on once. So things like that are really going to lead to improved battery life and really just improved performance.
Yeah, I can't wait to. I actually can't wait to get my hands on Beta 2 because I want to see what Apple changes. Because from what I hear from different tech blogs and from reliable sources is that the icons were actually made, or Johnny Ive put Apple's marketing team in charge of designing the icons.
Okay.
And
Yeah, there's a couple like the Safari icon I don't like. Still to this day, I don't like it. Hopefully they change.
yeah, I don't like the icons really at all. I've seen some different posts of how Apple should have made the icons, and they looked a little bit better, but I don't think they're going to stay the same. I'm pretty sure that Apple is going to get in there and change it. They're going to get the feedback from developers, and
Yeah,
make their changes.
absolutely. Yeah, that's what's always really nice about the developer previews. I mean, and from what I've heard, this is probably like the most half-baked release yet. I mean, Apple has been extremely busy over the last year. I mean, especially even just with the whole Maps thing from iOS 6. They've put a lot of time and development and everything into even just fixing that. So to come out with a new operating system, this is probably the least completed build that we've seen. But it is beta 1, things are going to change.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I would not be surprised if some of these application icons are just placeholders.
yeah. I wouldn't be either at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, multitasking, I mean, just to show it really quick in case you haven't seen it, you have your phone here, you just double tap it, and then you're free to choose your application. And hopefully, like this Twitter feed I have, like right around here, I think actually, that's my camera. Yeah, there we go. There's Tweetbot. Hopefully, by the time that I actually go into multitasking, it'll actually update Tweetbot for me before I even get
Yeah.
there. Because also to make it smarter, the phone knows what applications you use most, and so it'll do its best to keep those updated as opposed to other applications that you aren't using.
Yeah, that would be nice. I would like to see that.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, moving right on here, another thing that I really like about iOS 7 is the control center.
Oh
Now,
yes,
your
yes,
your your
almost.
views on that?
Oh man, Control Center is absolutely amazing. This is what it looks like here. Able to control, oh man, everything. My favorite part about it is the flashlight. I mean,
Yeah.
there were apps in the past where you can, open up the app and it would automatically turn on your flash in the back, and that just got annoying when, I want to turn on a flashlight really quickly on my phone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, another thing that's really cool about this flashlight is that I can slide up to have control center, and I can turn on the flashlight. I can actually sleep my phone, and the flashlight still
Yeah,
stays on.
I did notice that too. Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't do that with all these other standard flashlight applications.
Yeah, I find myself using Control Center a lot to turn Wi-Fi on and off,
Yeah.
to change my orientation lock and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And at first, I mean, I would like the first day or two that I had this, I was still finding myself going into settings to turn off Wi-Fi and stuff, and I was like, no, I could do this simpler now.
Yeah, yeah. From being
I mean,
jailbroken, I got used to being able to pull down the notification center and change Wi-Fi and everything. So it was just, I just had to get used to pulling up the control center rather than pulling down the notification center. So
exactly. Yeah, and those of you guys that use Android, I mean, you've had that functionality for years now. But what's nice about it, I mean, even on like the more modern Android phones, is that not only do you have to pull down Notification Center, but on a lot of the newer Samsung phones, you not only have to swipe down, but you also have to tap, and that'll get you to that same control center type screen. So now that's not only more a longer process, but it's those things, those tweaks, those toggles, they aren't even notifications. So why should they be in the same pull-down menu as your notifications? So I feel that by Apple doing it, from just having a whole separate menu for that, from a whole separate place on the screen, it makes a lot more sense that way.
yeah, I absolutely agree. And a lot of people are saying that Apple took this from Android, and they're taking things from other operating systems. But the thing is that when Apple does that, they look at other operating systems and they see the other options that they provide, but they find their own way of implementing it. They're not exact
Exactly.
copying off of it. That's why we don't see the toggles and stuff in the notification center, because Apple found a better way to do it with Control Center.
Exactly. Yeah, and then the only point I would say that isn't 100% true is with Notification
Yeah,
Center, only because it's literally the same exact gesture and everything
yeah,
as Android. That's it.
yeah. That is
I
true.
mean, that I will have to admit. But other than that, Apple typically does, when they do get an idea from something else,
Hmm.
they do tend to put their own kind of design and spin on
Yeah,
it.
I do like the today thing in the notification center.
Yeah, it only shows like reminders and events from today.
Yeah, I do wish
So,
they would put the current weather in there though.
yes, definitely.
It would be nice.
Actually, wait. Yeah, for some, mine wasn't there, but yeah, mine's actually showing the weather there now.
Yeah,
It even
it
says,
shows what the high and the low will be and stuff like that, but it doesn't show
yeah.
the actual temperature. It does at certain points during the day. I've noticed earlier in the day it'll tell you what temperature it is, and then later in the day it'll tell you what temperature it will be. And I'd
Ah,
rather
okay.
know what temperature it is. You know, if I want to know what temperature it's going to be, then I can tap it. I'd rather do that than, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's kind of just like having, instant weather, right? As soon as you turn on your phone, right there.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
would be nice. But yeah, I didn't even notice that text there before. Maybe it was there and I didn't see it,
Yeah,
but
that's possible.
shows how much I read things.
That is definitely
Yeah, so
possible.
I mean, even more so to the point that I didn't take the time to read the text. It'd be nice to see a little sun or a cloud or something.
Yeah. So, do you think that with what we've seen so far with iOS 7, do you think it'll be enough to keep uh, iPhone users that are like tempted to switch to Android from switching?
I think so. I mean, I think a lot of people they didn't necessarily want an entire new OS because with a new OS, when you switch, you have to take the time to learn everything about the new
Yeah.
OS. Any apps that you have invested in the App Store are no longer there, so you have to repurchase them on the Android. Or if you don't have to repurchase them, they probably have some kind of an ad or something on them. So I mean, with the time and money that you already have invested in this phone, a lot of people didn't necessarily want an entire new operating system or a new phone. They just wanted something that was different, and they got that
Yeah,
now.
that's true. That is very true.
So, I mean, even me personally, I had a phase where I really did want to try an Android phone, and I got to. And I'm very glad it was before I had to sign my life over for 2 years on some kind of contract because I even with the smaller screen and all, for those of you wondering, I used a Galaxy Nexus, which isn't the newest phone out there, but it's still a pretty good phone.
Yeah.
Nice big screen, whatever have you. But I went back to my 4S despite having a screen that was over an inch smaller, despite it being, probably having some slower hardware in it. I just like Apple's ecosystem a lot better. And a lot of people, once they go to use someone else's phone, it's not all, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. It's one of those scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
So by having the phone function the same, but just look different, and some things are even really drastically improved, I think that will keep a lot of people on Apple.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've had an iPhone since 2 months after the first generation iPhone was released, and I
Hmm.
kind of been tempted to try Android a little bit with the HTC One. I was really tempted. I almost actually bought one, just to have alongside with my iPhone just to try it out. But the more I thought
Yeah.
about it, and the more I seen people switching to Android and then switching right back, is when I thought that I would feel limited on Android, even though that's kind of
Yeah.
a weird thing to say because Android is so open and it's open source and you can root it and install custom ROMs and unlock it, do whatever you want with it. But to me, I would feel limited. I would feel like I can't do anything but watch YouTube videos and text people. Is how I would feel.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Android, it's nice for the people that want to be able to flash their phone, or even in some cases, some people are trying to figure out now how to like dual boot them and crazy stuff like that. To me, it's always been more of a fun experiment of what I can do with a phone in my pocket. But for a daily driver that I need to communicate with people, I want the reliability of the iPhone.
Yeah. I've even seen Android fanatics talk about how they have an Android phone as their daily driver, and maybe they took it with them on a trip or something, and something went horribly wrong with it, and it was in a boot loop. And that
Yeah,
would, I mean, that would get me to switch right away. There's no way I could deal
absolutely.
with that. Not on a stock
Yep.
operating
And I
system.
mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, Android, it just seems to be not as, complete. And I mean, another thing about jailbreaking and rooting is now that all these phones they're coming with more power and more functionality right out of the
Yeah.
box. I've even heard a lot of people talk about Android saying that, you know what, I don't even need to flash these custom ROMs anymore because now out of the box it does everything that I would want to do on a modern
Yeah.
ROM. So I mean, the phones are just getting more advanced now to the point that it's even deterring hardcore Android people away from rooting because they simply don't need to, and it's kind of a pain now.
Yeah. I'm interested to see the stock Android version of the HTC One. I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind getting my hands on
absolutely.
that and playing with that because that is straight stock Android. No junk from HTC put on there and nothing from the carriers put on there.
Yeah. I mean, even to hardware wise, the HTC One is a really nice
It
phone.
is a beautiful device, yes, definitely. And that's the main reason why I wanted to get it because in my opinion it actually looks better than the iPhone 5.
Yeah, I mean, it has like that nice design to it. It has that aluminum design to it, but it's different enough that you can tell what it
Yeah,
is.
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, we're kind of going off topic, but it's interesting to talk about how Android affects iOS, how a change in iOS could affect people going to Android. So yeah, final thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts right there.
All right, sounds good. We're just gonna finish up here with iOS 7. They also add some additional Siri functionality, and hopefully, drumroll please, a new voice. Hopefully, coming to Siri. No more of that
Yes.
robotic
Yeah, they
voice.
did show off the new voice at WWDC, but with the first beta, we haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I noticed that right away. I was like, "Where's the
I know.
voice?"
Yeah, I did. I noticed that too. I tried it out as soon as I got it installed because I wanted to hear that voice. But I have been
Yeah,
Siri to me has gotten it seems to have gotten more reliable for me anyway with
yeah,
this beta and able to do more. Because I mean, I've been asking Siri all kinds of different things, and she's been able to tell me the answer that I wanted to hear. I mean, things that if I would
really.
search the web for, it would be harder for me to find. It would be 10 times harder for me to find.
That's interesting. Do you have like an example of that?
Um, Not really. Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from. They definitely did improve Siri in iOS 7. They did add some new functionality. It's not just like a new voice. There are some. I mean, before Siri, I always kind of thought of as something just to show your friends.
Hmm.
I mean, I could get the score of a game, or I could see a movie playing nearby. But
Yeah.
I never. And other than that, I just use it for like if I'm cooking in the kitchen, I'll set like a 5 minute timer or a 20-minute timer on a
Hmm.
pizza, or I'll add something to reminders. But now they seem to be adding more to that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I like being able to. One of the new things that they added is being able to turn off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and I think you can actually do airplane mode and things like that too.
Yeah, definitely, that's very neat. I mean, if your hands are doing something and you're kind of worried about your phone, using Wi-Fi when you're not connected to a network, you could just say, "Turn off my
Yeah.
Wi-Fi."
One feature that I would love to see with Siri, which I don't think they'll do it this time. I don't think they'll do it in iOS 7. But if you could just say Siri and then say what you want to do hands free. There was
Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah,
glass.
there was a jailbreak tweak for that. Um, Last year it was released, and then this year they improved it to where you could just say Siri, and your phone Siri would pop up and say yes, asking what you wanted to do.
That is
Yeah,
neat. That is definitely neat.
but it,
Yeah, it's just kind of like glass. Like, okay, glass, and you'll say what, and then you just talk.
exactly, it just killed battery life though. That was the downfall of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it always has to be listening.
Hmm. But the thing is, if Apple was to do it, then they would do it right. I would think they would.
Yeah, yeah. There would also be privacy concerns.
There would be, but
Like, what are they listening to?
yeah. But that's why there would be like a toggle or something in settings or in the control center where you could turn it off if you needed to. I think
Yeah,
it'd be perfect to be in
yeah,
control center where you could just turn that off really quickly.
yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, that's pretty much all the advantages we have for iOS 7. Really quick, just to list the disadvantages, we have the notification center. The functionality hasn't changed at all, despite having kind of a makeover from the obviously the redesign. But you still have to tap those tiny little X's to dismiss notifications. I wish they had at least added the functionality to where you could like swipe them away, kind of like the multitasking, how you can just swipe to close apps.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I really wish they at least added something like that. I mean, something.
Yeah, we might be seeing something like that in the future, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that would definitely be
Yeah.
nice to be able to just swipe them away. Because
Absolutely, and I'm hoping once the iPad version comes around that the notification center takes up the full screen, not just a little bit of
Yeah,
it.
that's what people are saying that it will do. I've seen some example shots of it, and a lot of people are saying that it will take up the whole screen. Yeah, I thought that was kind of stupid where, it just took up just a little bit of the screen in iOS 6 on the iPad.
Yep.
It was just, I didn't like it at all.
Yep. To me like that little X thing even on the iPad to dismiss the notifications. It's like the send button for messages on the iPad. You have a 10-inch screen and you make a little dismiss button like absolutely tiny.
Yeah, yeah.
I just never got the point of that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But yeah, but anyway, moving on. There's really only one other disadvantage, and that would be some of the icons need work, but that's something really small. We're just nitpicking at this point. And also, being a preview, we have two other disadvantages, but we can't really call them disadvantages because it's not a final
Yes.
product. One being that it's just not fully optimized yet. A lot of the animations, even on the iPhone 5, can be laggy at times, especially for me because I have an older phone. And also, just some of the application support is broken. Us personally, we've tried to use eBay and Skype, and those just crash when you try to launch them. So you can't really call it, a disadvantage because, like I said, it's not a final product, but still something to keep in mind that if you do want to try this out, not all your applications are going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty much all we have to say for iOS 7.
Yeah.
So now, moving on, we have OS X Mavericks.
Yes.
Terrell here, he has it running on his Mac Pro. I have it running on my Hackintosh. And so if you want to go ahead, Terrell, start off with the advantages, that would be awesome.
The biggest advantage that I've seen with using Mavericks is spaces. The way that Apple does it is the way they should have done it the first time with spaces, where you can switch spaces individually, independent of the different screens. So right now I have 3 displays hooked up to my Mac Pro. So if I wanted to change a space on one of my screens, I could do that. I could have a full screen Safari or full screen Mail application open on one of my screens, and then I could swipe either left or right between the spaces to whichever to either Mail or Safari, going back and forth, and keeping my other 2 screens would just stay the same. They wouldn't change at all.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not using it right now because Skype has some issues with Mavericks I found, so I'm on Mountain Line right now.
Yeah, me too.
But I was using Mavericks for a good portion of the last week.
Yeah.
And I found myself not even wanting to boot back into Mountain Line for the spaces alone. The spaces are so nice, especially if you're working like with video. Say I have Final Cut on one monitor and I have Compressor on the other. I'm using Final Cut right now, but I'm not really using Compressor until I go to export, so I can still have Final Cut open. And then if I want to drag a file in from the Finder, I can just switch the Compressor monitor to a Finder window or whatever have you, drag stuff in and just switch it right back, all without Final Cut ever leaving my monitor.
Yeah,
So it's really
I
nice.
definitely love that feature. I've been using it off and on. Every once in a while I'll boot into it and try to use it as my primary OS, but there are some apps that won't work right or won't even open sometimes. So I find myself having to go back to Mountain Line even though I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just how it is right now. It's kind of like the iPhone. It's just not a finished
Yeah.
product. All the developers need time to update their apps to work.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Yeah, that's kind of
But
weird because with my phone OS, I could have a beta operating system installed on there and be okay with not every single thing working perfectly. But on my computer, I
Yeah,
can't. It's impossible.
exactly.
Everything has to
Yeah, I
work
mean,
right.
when I'm at my computer, I need everything. I mean, on my phone, I can live without like an eBay app, or I can live without a Skype app. But when it comes to my computer, that I absolutely need to work.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah, and for my phone, I need my phone to be reliable to be able to communicate with people. But if one or two apps don't work, then I'm
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, like with the eBay app not working in iOS 7, I just went to the web app, when I
Yeah,
needed it.
yeah. There's more workarounds on the mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, I think Spaces was the. That kind of sounds weird grammatically, but that's actually correct.
Yeah.
Spaces are, I guess you could say, probably the biggest feature of Mavericks. And a lot of people that run Windows or just run older versions of OS X would say, you know what, that's not even a feature. Why would I upgrade?
Yeah.
And that's one feature. The problem is Mountain Lion was already so good.
Yes.
Mountain Lion was awesome.
Yes.
I never found myself wishing that I never upgraded the Mountain Lion because it was an awesome step. And now Mavericks is just building on top of that. And with Mavericks, a lot of the other features besides like spaces are actually found under the hood. So Terrell, if you want to take us through some of those.
Yeah, with the advances in the the battery and CPU usage technology that Apple has done, that's really, I mean, right now with the new MacBook Air is out, Apple is quoting up to 12 hours of battery life with a 13-inch MacBook Air, but that
Yeah.
was based on Mountain Lion. Now with
Yeah, exactly.
Mavericks, I would have to say I think we might see up to like 14, maybe 13 hours of battery life.
Absolutely. And that is heavily entitled to what they call app nap. And that is basically, say, for example, I have a web browser running. And what a lot of people don't realize, and they kind of address this in the Apple keynote, is that on pretty much every web page nowadays, there's some form of advertisement. And it's probably going to be a video advertisement. And a lot of them nowadays even have audio with them. So that's pretty intensive. If you have one or two of those per page, and you got a couple tabs open, that can really add up to some CPU
Yeah,
usage. So by having, say for example, you switch applications, you're just not using your browser at the moment. So your browser is just stuck on those pages, even though you're not using them. Those ads are still using battery. So if I switch to say iTunes and that becomes my main application, Safari, that CPU usage, instead of staying where it is, actually goes all the way down to basically zero. And by just doing that, that saves a ton of battery power.
yeah, it does, and it uses a lot less CPU because I've noticed that a lot lately with Safari. If I have like, say, like 8 tabs open in Safari, I have ads going in ads running in the background on the different tabs and stuff, and they're using my CPU actually, and to
Yeah.
stop that, I either have to close a tab or close out of Safari completely and open it back up and start over. That's usually what I do just to clear it all.
Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of really cool under the hood kind of stuff. And I mean, for a desktop, that's not as big of a deal, but you're still consuming less power from the walls. So I mean, after a long time, you may actually see some kind of a difference, even if it comes down to say your electricity bill. I mean, it's just less wattage that you're taking from the wall.
Yeah, it's less CPU usage going to other things. I mean, you could be doing a lot more on your computer than you're doing now. And that's one of the things that
Yeah.
I think it could be a great advantage to desktop users.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not exactly sure how AppNap is going to work if you have dual displays, because from what I understand, the window in AppNap has to be over top of the other window for like the previous application CPU usage to go down. So if you have dual displays, they're not on top of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about that, and I think that all the apps that are showing on the displays, I think those are the ones that are going to get the CPU usage and using the memory and everything. But like, let's say you had a couple Safari windows open on your main display, and you had one on top of the other. The one on top would be using the CPU, not the one below it.
Yeah. That's interesting. We'll have to see how that works out. One more feature just for Mountain Lion is the improved notifications. I just actually just thought of this now. Using those and not having them on Mountain Lion is horrible because if I get an iMessage on Mavericks, I can just reply to it within there and not even have to bring up messages.
Yeah.
Or I can, silence a FaceTime call ringing. I can do those kind of things without even having to have that application pulled up. It's kind of like a quick look for
Yeah.
notifications.
Automatic app updating. We forgot to talk about that in iOS 7, but that's also in
Oh, yes.
Mavericks too. That is a really nice feature. I love being able to wake up in the morning and see that, two of my apps have updated. I don't have to go into the App Store and
Yep.
hit the update button or put in my password or anything. It's really
Yeah,
convenient.
absolutely. On my phone, I notice that all the time. Like, it's so nice.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, as far as disadvantages to Mavericks, I have none. I mean, it's a solid OS.
Yeah, I don't really have any disadvantages personally, but I did see a video that was actually featured on a lot of different tech blogs, 9 to 5 Mac, Mac Rumors, I think even CNET picked it up. But pretty much this guy has 6 displays hooked up to his Mac Pro. And what he does is he has a desktop background that expands across all 6 displays. Now with Mavericks, he's not able to swipe over to his different desktops that have that desktop background.
Ah.
Yeah, so yeah, for
Interesting.
each monitor he has to go through and swipe to that space. Yeah. Also, another disadvantage that he
Interesting.
mentioned is that, and actually, we will put the link to this video in the show notes for you guys. But he mentioned that you can't expand apps across multiple monitors. You can only have, like, let's say you wanted to expand your Safari window across 2 monitors. You can't do that. I took
Interesting.
a it was a while ago. Google Plus's first redesign of Google's first redesign of Google Plus. A lot of people were complaining about all the white space on the sides of it. So what I did was I had 3 screens at the time. I just expanded my Safari window across all 3 screens and then took a picture of it.
I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's just like white with like a little bit of text in the middle.
Yeah. And people were complaining about that,
That's
so
funny.
I took one of Facebook also. So,
Yeah. Very nice.
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, as far as Mavericks goes, I assume it's going to be $20. It's probably going to be the same price as Mountain Lion.
Yeah.
Absolutely solid upgrade. I have no problems with it personally. I don't have 6 displays. I never find myself wanting to have an application take up both of my monitors. So
Yeah, me
it's
either.
not a problem for me. But I can see how it would be for some people.
Yeah.
But basically, that is pretty much all we have for the software portion.
I do
Now,
have one.
we actually have a
I do have
bundle.
one more thing I
Oh, go
want to
ahead.
mention before we get off of software. Um,
Okay.
I want to talk just briefly on OS 11. What we
Okay.
might see with OS 11. I know we didn't mention that we were going to talk about this before, but I do feel that we should mention it, that what we think that Apple is going to do with OS 11 now that they've revamped iOS 7. Maybe they'll do the same with OS 11, or will it be OS 10.10, which I don't think. I think it'll be OS 11.
Probably.
But what are your
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts
it's
on it?
possible. They might. I think what they're gonna do is redesign it. I mean, it's kind of gonna be like iOS. It'll work the same. All the great features that OS 10 does have will still work, but it'll just look different.
Hmm.
Maybe we'll see flat, like a nice flat dock, or we'll see a flat. Because how even the dock now is reflective and kind of 3-dimensional. Just have that be flat. Application icons being flat. Um, but that's about it. I mean, maybe of course they'll add a couple new features that it'll have,
Yeah,
but I see the big thing of the next version just being the design, probably flattened out.
yeah, me too. I don't think they could add anything else really under the hood other than adding like a feature like Siri. into OS 11, that
Yeah.
would be amazing. And if they could make it locally
Yeah.
to where you would just download updates every once in a while, that would be perfect.
Absolutely, and even in Mavericks, they have that advanced dictation now that you can actually download. It's about 700
Yeah.
megabytes, and you can have download that file. So if you can do something like that with Siri in the future and have Siri on your desktop, that would just be awesome.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Absolutely, but yeah, OS 11 is still probably a pretty decent bit off.
Yeah,
At least.
at least a year
But
away.
I mean, yeah, I could see them redesigning it. I really could.
Yeah, me too. The reason why I think they will is the reason why I don't think they did it this time is, for one thing, OS 11. That's a big step, and they want to do something big for it. And then I think they
Yeah.
were too busy working on iOS 7. There's no possible way. I mean, there were rumors going around that Apple took developers from Mavericks to work on iOS 7 to get it ready for the developers
Yeah.
conference.
I would believe
Yeah.
it. But something else though about iOS or OS 10.11
Hmm.
is that this now being 10.9 is when they started a brand new naming scheme.
Yeah.
So would they keep the same naming scheme if they jumped to an entire new version, not even OS 10 anymore, but OS 11?
They said they would.
Yeah. Okay.
But the good thing to note is there has been 10 versions of OS 10, not 9. It started with 10.0,
That's true, yeah.
not 10.1.
10.0. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We'll definitely have to see what Apple holds for us in the
yeah,
future.
definitely. I wish they would have kept the cats. I wish they would have did one more cat. They could have come up with one
Yeah.
more. That would have been perfect, and then changed it with OS 11.
Yeah, absolutely. Start to go to those California names.
Exactly.
But yeah, so there's our thoughts about Mavericks, Mountain Lion, or iOS 7, where OS 10 may go in the future. What do you guys think? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below, or wherever have you on Twitter, etc. But also, one last thing before getting off software is we have a nice little bundle that we'd like to promote for you guys. So Terrell, go ahead and talk to me about that.
Yeah, this is an app bundle through Stack Social. They offer a bunch of different apps. I will tell you in a couple of seconds. I wasn't actually ready for this.
That's how we do
Oh
things.
yeah, on the fly.
Absolutely.
Everything on the fly.
Yeah, it's called the iStack Mac Bundle 3.0, and
Yes.
comes with a good amount of apps.
Yeah, it does actually. I put the link in the chat for you guys.
Yeah, do you have the page up?
Yeah,
on
I do
there?
have it up now. Yeah, it comes with nine Mac apps. I will pull it up in video for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you use a Mac, then you really cannot beat this.
Yeah,
deal.
only $29 for this deal. A retail value of $517. You really can't beat that. 94% off. The deal ends in 20 days, though. You need to take advantage of it as soon as you can.
Yeah, you have time, but don't wait.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean the apps down there. Let's see, Corel Painter Lite, TuneUp, Disk Drill Pro, MoneyWiz, Voila, DVD Remaster 8, Desktop Shelves, MacScan, NetSpot Pro. Honestly, personally, I've never used any of these, but ones that would interest me would possibly be DVD Remaster, because my girlfriend's actually always creating DVDs for clients and stuff, so that could really help her out. Voila, I've heard of it, but I have no idea what it does. Maybe I'd like to try the Corel Painter Lite just to see what that's all about.
Yeah,
That's probably my biggest pick.
I'm
for this
I'm
bundle.
curious to what a Disk Drill Pro does. It seems like it would have to do with
It's probably maybe some kind of add-on to disk utility, or maybe some kind of a checker or something.
Yeah, because there are a lot of functions missing from Disk Utility that some third parties do. So
Yeah.
that could definitely do it.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to check out an unbeatable deal, just get your hands on these apps. Try them out. If you don't like it, it's $30, but I'm bet there's be at least one app in there that will at least pay for the entire bundle. Even if you don't like any of the other
Yeah,
ones.
definitely.
Yeah, so be sure to check out iStack Mac Bundle 3.0.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to move here to the last segment of today's episode, and that's going to be talking about some of Apple's hardware, what they've newly released, specifically being like the Mac Pro and the MacBook Air. So, the dimensions of the Mac Pro are 9.9 inches by 6.6 inches, tall and wide.
Yeah.
So definitely a ton of power in a crazy small form factor.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't get. I don't get how in the world Apple was able to fit all of that power in that small a space. I mean, I was reading an article today that mentioned that the power supply is actually built in. I mean, we kind of figured that, but we didn't really, think about it that way because, I mean, Mac Pro power supplies are pretty big. They're I think the one I have in my machine is 975 watts.
Yeah.
So
I mean, not only is it big, it's going to put off some.
Yeah. That's where that thermal core comes in handy. With the unified thermal core.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was probably the biggest obstacle, and that's why they made it a cylinder, so that they can have cooling that'll literally cool every component as it works. Yeah. And then a cylinder was probably the only way to do that. Or at least probably the best way. But of course, if you're going to make a computer a cylinder, most computers are square or rectangular, so you have to custom engineer all of your components to be in a cylinder.
Yeah, from what I've heard from rumors and different Apple executives saying, hinting a couple things to it, they've said that the whole design of the new Mac Pro was built around that cylinder, built around that thermal core.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It would have to be. I mean, if you have this high end of a system, it needs to be cooled properly, otherwise it will fail.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're saying, dude, what hardware? We got up to 12 cores of Ivy Bridge E Xeon power, so that's going to be crazy.
Processor.
Yeah, that's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, if you look right here on the left, no, actually that is that's the graphics cards. But I will pull up the processor.
But yeah, I mean, previously the most cores we had on a processor was 8, so it'd be 8 cores and 16 threads. Yeah. Now we're gonna have 12 cores and 24 threads on one processor.
Yeah, the processor sits right in between the memory right there, and there's only four memory slots. So I mean that makes sense to where there's only one processor, because if you were to buy the quad core version of the current Mac Pro right now, you would or the quad core or the 6 core. You could only get 4 memory slots.
Yeah.
Up to, I believe, 48 gigabytes of memory.
Yeah, so it's definitely a monster.
It is a beast.
I mean, it'd be cool if they had a second CPU socket, but I mean, if you're gonna make it this small, there's just no room.
Yeah, there's not at all. I mean, I don't think they felt that there needed to be a second one, with being able to pack up to 12 cores in one CPU.
Yeah.
I mean, if it did have dual CPUs, that would get expensive. You'd probably end up spending about 10-15 grand before you were done with it.
I'm sure, yeah. And I mean, this thing is probably going to cost a pretty penny as it is. Just that hardware, let alone to have it engineered that small.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to cost money.
Yeah, I think we'll see a quad core base model, and then
probably
either a 6 or 8 core, and then the 12 core.
Yeah, I mean, because it did say up to 12 cores, so it's not going to be one model that's 12.
Yeah,
cores.
if it was, that one model would start at $5,000 more than likely.
Exactly, it's going to be pricey.
Which
probably more.
Yeah, some people don't need. Some people need more graphics power than CPU power, and then some people need more CPU power than graphics power. So I'm sure Apple will have a lot of different configurations, especially because everything is built in and doesn't look to be very upgradable. Although I am skeptical about the CPU being upgradable. I, I I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think it will be. I think you'll be able to, not officially, but you'll be able to take it apart and actually, take that back bracket off of the cooler and then replace the CPU.
Yeah.
I don't think they would
Yeah, I
solder
mean,
it
it
on there.
does. Yeah, it does look like those are like little thumb screws. Like maybe get like an Allen wrench or something in there, unscrew those. Maybe have the whole thing pop out. It's hard to say.
Yeah, we will see. I'm sure everybody, all the reviewers and everything will try to get their hands on it. I definitely,
Oh yeah,
I would love to get my hands on one. Actually, looking closely now at close to the top of it, it looks like there's some kind of slot there that you can pull
yeah,
out. I wonder what that could be.
yeah. I have no idea, but
Maybe
I guess we'll
wireless.
find out this fall when iFixit gets their hands on
Yeah,
it.
definitely. Because if I did get one, I wouldn't be taking it apart like crazy.
Oh, definitely
Yeah,
not. No, no
yeah.
chance. But yeah, so besides the 12 cores of Xeon power, we have two Fire Pro GPUs, which are extremely high end. We have solid state storage built right in the form of kind of like a little mini PCI adapter. So you could even take that off if you want, upgrade that in the future, which is nice. So those are probably the biggest selling points of that. Solid state storage, crazy GPU, and crazy CPU. That's what pro users have been waiting
Yeah,
for.
definitely. Yeah, I think with the solid state storage, I think we will see like the base of the base models. I think it'll be starting at either 256 gigabytes or 512, which for an SSD, for a lot of people that's good enough. For me personally,
Yeah,
I would be okay with having a 512 gigabyte SSD internally. I mean,
yeah,
with
absolutely.
my setup now and my plans for it, right now I have three 120 gigabyte solid state drives and a RAID 0, and I plan on having five, and that's going to pretty much take up all of my slots in my Mac Pro.
Yeah, definitely gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, especially if you're gonna have that as your only internal storage, you're gonna need it to have capacity. It can't
definitely.
just be 120 gigs for everything. Just
Yes.
I can't have
Definitely,
it.
definitely. Yeah, I could see Apple doing the 512 gigabyte as the starting model at
Yeah,
maybe 25. I had a friend that actually thinks that it's going to be 2200, actually lower than the previous generation.
it would all depend on the base
Yeah,
configuration, but I mean, it's possible because I mean they do want to get this in the hands of
yeah,
people.
that's true. But they do understand that pros are willing to pay more.
Yeah, people that really need this power.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, just getting back to like advantages of the machine. Obviously, the raw power. Obviously, the crazy small design that you can just throw on your desk and have it displayed really nice in all of its shiny goodness. It has the Apple build quality. That say like a Hackintosh just simply doesn't. The build quality, reliability, and tons of Thunderbolt. Which Thunderbolt is awesome. Thunderbolt's very fast and definitely missing from the Mac Pro. I'm sure on your Mac Pro, you wish you had Thunderbolt.
Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, I don't really need it. There's nothing that I really need to hook up to it. But if I had six Thunderbolt ports, I would probably be using them for displays. more, more than likely.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so Thunderbolt being awesome and everything, how fast it is, the fact that you can hook up to 36 devices on this machine with its six drives to each port. I think the Mac Pro relies a little bit too heavily on Thunderbolt. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with you there. At first, I was all in with Apple with it, but I started thinking about, people wanting more internal drives and PCI Express slots on the Mac Pro, because there are a lot of
Yeah.
people that use like capture cards and different things that they definitely need those PCI Express slots for. Although,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
although I do think that we will see those companies that are making those cards coming out with,
Move to
yeah,
Thunderbolt.
moving to Thunderbolt.
Yeah, and I mean the only con about that is it's going to be hard for the companies to keep those accessories at the same price if they're going to be on a whole new, like, I guess we'll call it an
Yeah,
architecture. So I mean, moving from like a PCI to a Thunderbolt, it's probably going to be cost that company money, and therefore it's going to be more expensive for the user to buy that product that does the same thing.
yeah, you definitely have a point there. I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, even like for a lot of people like me, like say for example, I have my Hackintosh down here, and if I wanted to buy this Mac Pro, I can't, sell this machine or anything because I can't, like now I can't use those internal hard drives
Yeah,
that have all my music or everything on it. I'd have to buy like a Thunderbolt enclosure or something just to hook those
yeah.
in, which I don't think is right.
Yeah, I agree. For people like you that are wanting, which that's most people that are wanting, internal storage, a lot of internal storage and being able to expand in the future. Because I know a lot of people that have Mac Pros that have filled them up with 4 terabyte hard drives. Have four
Yeah.
terabyte hard drives in there and maybe replace their optical drive with a couple solid state drives and a RAID. I mean, that's what I would do, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's. I would rather have Apple make the machine not 10 inches tall and not 6 inches wide, make it a bit bigger, but let me put a hard drive or two in there. Or if not a hard drive, have more than one mini PCI where I can have more than one solid state card in
yeah,
there.
exactly.
I think they could have done that.
Yeah, they could have, and I think they should have. They quote that it can be up to the solid state drive. You'll get like 1.2 gigabytes. Yeah, gigabytes per second
Yeah,
read
it's
speed.
fast.
Yeah, and up to 1 gigabyte write speed. That's crazy fast. And right now, the new MacBook Air is getting half
Like
that.
800.
Yeah,
I think it's
almost.
up to 800 or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I
and
mean,
that's
it is fast, but there's a lot of scenarios and a lot of people in these scenarios that would rather have quantity of storage over like how fast that
yeah,
storage is.
yeah. I agree.
So, I mean, it's really hard to say that that this is the way to go right
Hmm.
now. I could see, and I made an entire video on this. What the 2013 Mac Pro means for the Hackintosh. People that want the internal storage, people that want that customization, they might gravitate towards the
Yeah,
Hackintosh now. That's not saying this is a bad computer. That's just saying that it's too soon for those people to invest in this
yeah,
kind of a computer. In 5 years, maybe people that are looking for this kind of power or whatever field they're in, they might actually gravitate towards this because in 5 years, Thunderbolt will be cheaper, Thunderbolt will be more accessible, and there will just be more devices
yeah,
for it. But right now, it's just so costly and so limited that the best thing right now is that even some Hackintoshes have it. Some motherboards actually do have Thunderbolt. It's not 6 ports, but it's one or two. And we also have that internal storage. So on a Hackintosh, in a scenario like this, like I said, it's not that Apple design, that Apple engineering reliability, but you kind of have the best of both worlds there.
yeah. I agree with you. I think that the people that do want that expandability will gear towards Hackintoshing.
Yeah, and I mean that's like I said, in 5 to 10 years, probably about
Hmm.
five, the industry probably will gravitate, and I say the industry being the people that are into film production or movies or anything like that that need a computer like this. They'll probably in 5 years' time be more willing to go for an all-in-one, non-upgradable computer. But until then, a Hackintosh system that we could get the same power from and have more customization will probably suit their needs better until that point.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. As far as expandability goes, I do have kind of a gut feeling that Apple is going to come out with some kind of, or else pressure companies into coming out with some kind of external solution for the new Mac Pro for like PCI Express cards and hard drive slots, hard drive bays.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And like even nowadays, I mean, companies like Drobo, they have those crazy storage solutions, but they are
Yeah, they are.
expensive. So I mean, if you're going to buy some kind of Thunderbolt enclosure that has multiple drives, or like a Drobo even based over USB, which is cool because the Mac Pro has USB 3, so it does get those nice fast transfer
Yeah,
speeds. It's just going to cost money. That's what it comes down
yeah,
to.
that's true. It's gonna cost more money.
Exactly, and not everyone's
Yeah,
okay with
but
that.
most people that are willing to spend the money on a Mac Pro will be okay with that. Will be okay with,
Yeah, yeah.
they're saying, oh yeah, I needed to update my capture card anyway. I needed to get a new this anyway, and
Yeah, that 72 RPM drive was kind of getting old anyway. I'd like to go for the
yeah,
Thunderbolt.
exactly.
But that's a very good point. I mean, like I said, it's not everybody that's going to want to go to Hackintosh route. It's not everybody that's going to want this machine. But for the people that do want these machines, they probably will be okay. And that's the market Apple's going for
Yeah,
right now. But I mean, then again, not everyone likes Final Cut.
yeah, that's true.
So I mean, Apple is trying to. It seems that Apple's trying to get the professional users on the hardware
Hmm.
level, not necessarily as much the Final Cut like software level.
Well, actually, they are with having AMD GPUs in the new Mac Pro. That will make
That's
people
true. Yeah.
want to use Final Cut more because it will take advantage of those GPUs, and Adobe
Yeah,
products won't.
because Adobe products are all about CUDA cores, whereas Final Cut and like OpenGL is all about the stream
Yeah.
processors on the AMD
Hmm.
cards. So that is a good point. That Final Cut will perform
Yeah.
better. And also, they have an update coming for all the three 4K displays, which is just heavenly. That's just
Yeah, I'll
godly.
be upgrading. Definitely. I
Yeah,
wish.
absolutely. If you have that much GPU power, why not?
Exactly. Might as well.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any comments or anything else about the Mac Pro, be sure to let us know because we're always eager to hear what you guys think about this stuff. But that's pretty much all we have for you guys today. We
But
talked about
we didn't
what
talk about the
Apple came
MacBook
out
Air
with.
yet.
Oh, that's true. Okay, never mind. Never mind me. Just go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Well, at WWDC, Apple released the new MacBook Air, the Haswell MacBook Air. But the
Hmm.
big thing on the new MacBook Air was battery life. Up to 12
Yeah.
hours of battery life on the 13-inch MacBook Air. And reviews have been coming out over the past week, and a lot of people are reporting more than 12 hours of battery life. I think
Which is
I
insane.
think the Verge did a test and they reported 13 hours of battery life.
That is just absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. And once again, as we mentioned earlier, that's on Mountain Lion. That's not even Mavericks,
Yes,
but the battery saving technology
exactly.
is there.
I couldn't imagine
So
how it'll be with Mavericks.
we're probably going to be pushing 15
Yeah,
hours. I mean, it's getting to that point where you could work a 14-hour day and be on the computer, mind you, not even eat lunch, or if you eat lunch, it's watching a video on the computer throughout your entire shift, and you're
yeah,
fine. You'll be good. You can get home and still have battery.
exactly. Not having to take your charger to work with you. Taking your computer to work and using it for up to, like you said, doing a 14-hour day, and then taking it home and
Yeah.
putting it on the charger. Yeah, it's insane.
Exactly. You can go anywhere. I mean, you can go outside. You don't have to run an extension cable to your yard or
Yeah,
whatever for power because you just don't need
exactly.
it. It's absolutely crazy. And what a lot of people were saying they wished on their Air was the Retina
Hmm.
display. But that would defeat the purpose of the awesome battery life.
Yeah, it really would. I don't see Apple doing a Retina display on the MacBook Air until maybe late next year.
Yeah,
Because
I
the
could see
step they
that.
took with the MacBook Air was making the resolution of I'll use the 13-inch as an example. The resolution of the 13-inch MacBook Air is the same resolution as the non-Retina 15-inch MacBook Pros. So I think that says Apple's trying to get the pixels down a little bit with the MacBook Airs, or they
Yeah.
started out keeping them down a little bit.
But even something I've noticed about even like the 15-inch Retina in my local Best Buy that I've used it, even that with a dedicated GPU and the thick, like having as thick of a body as it does, not like a MacBook Air. Even then, I still notice performance issues, performance lag when going into mission control when I have some things open. And the MacBook Air, it has that crazy fast solid state drive. It wants to give you that snappy experience. So if you throw a Retina display in there, you're not going to have that.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's one of the issues that users have found with the 13-inch MacBook, the Retina 13-inch MacBook Pro, is that it's really laggy with the Intel HD 4000, which it'll get better with the HD 5000, but it won't be as good as it could be with a dedicated GPU.
Absolutely. I mean, even proof of that, I have it out right here. This card here, this is the first card I used in my Hackintosh like almost 3 years ago now. So this is an old card, and even then it wasn't new. It was still kind of dated at that time. This card here has 512 megabytes of dedicated memory. I have a little Ivy Bridge i3 over here with the HD 4000, which also has 512. That's much newer, obviously, but even so, this card still uses graphics and does everything a lot better than the onboard 4000 graphics, even though this card is much older and has the same amount of video memory. So, having a dedicated GPU is a big deal, despite this, even like I said, this one being a fair bit older.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And I don't think that we will ever see any kind of dedicated GPU on the MacBook Air. I think we'll see a Retina MacBook Air, but we will not see a dedicated GPU on it.
Yeah, it's just too small.
Yeah.
And I mean, for people that and a lot of, you have to think about it, a lot of people that use the MacBook Air, they're not doing things that require a dedicated GPU.
Yeah.
They probably they don't have the budget or the want for a screen that they can't see the pixels. Whereas if you're a professional that's looking to have like a mobile video editing setup, you're going to be willing to go out and have a laptop that's a little bit thicker and has beefier specs.
Exactly.
A lot of kids, even at school, a lot of kids that have laptops, they're MacBook Airs. Yeah. It's a really great school machine because it's ultra portable, and Apple's not going to ruin that just by wanting to throw a better screen on it. They're just not going to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think next year we will see a redesign of the MacBook Air. I think it's time.
Yeah.
Apple came out with this design.
Yeah, it has stayed the same.
Yeah, it has stayed the same since 2010, so I think it's about that time.
Yeah, that was Jobs' last 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely.
But tell us what you guys think about the MacBook Air. If you think it's a solid upgrade, do you have one? Have you seen any interesting benchmarks around the web? Whatever it is, be sure to let us know down in the comments below.
Yep.
But all right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Tech Habit Weekly. Episode 3 is in the bag. Pretty much all I have to say. Go ahead, Terrell. Tell them where they can find your stuff online.
Yeah, you can find me at 1P for Terrell on Twitter, or I have 3 different websites actually. One place for tech.com, one place for apple.com, and one place to buy.com. Which on one place to buy we have a lot of different products on there from phones to phone cases to Macs. We actually just added the new Xbox One and the new PS4 on there, where you can pre-order it straight from there. So yeah.
Not too shabby.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward pre-ordering process for those of you gamers out there.
Definitely.
But thanks for joining me, Terrell. I'm sure you'll be back next week. We'll have a lot of cool stuff to talk about. And no, this is not like an Apple-only podcast, but it's that time of year for Apple stuff. So trust me, we'll have other stuff to talk about for you guys that aren't crazy about Apple. I'm at CPU Kid on Twitter. Be sure to check out RocheTechnology.com. And hopefully we should see you guys back here next week.